Hello, I'm Zilla Jones, and I will be reading from my debut novel, The World So Wide. This is a historical fiction, and it centers around the 1983 United States invasion of Grenada in the Caribbean and the events leading up to that. My protagonist, Felicity Alexander, is a mixed-race opera singer of Grenadian and Ukrainian descent from Winnipeg, and the book traces the rise and fall of her career and of the Grenadian Socialist Revolution. This chapter takes place in London, England, on January 19th, 1974. The British had grudgingly accepted what they saw as the defection of their colonies, and, after decades of watching nations leave the fold, the London newspapers were resigned in their reporting on the latest loss, Grenada. Felicity spread the newspaper, wet with January rain, on her hotel room bed. She read with an idle curiosity until she came to a passage stating that Grenada's premier, Percy Tibbs, would be coming to London this week to sign the documents to facilitate independence, set to take place in fewer than 3 weeks. He was bringing with him the leader of the opposition, Neville Carpenter, and deputy leader of the opposition, Claude Buckingham. The journalist implied that this was a cynical move, designed to reassure Britain and the international community that Tibbs was willing to work with his detractors and that all was well in Grenada after recent violence. Felicity didn't care about the intentions or the reasons. Claude was going to be in London at the same time that she was. It was especially miraculous, given that this was her first engagement abroad in some time. After Giovanni in Lucerne, the work had dried up. Hans' wife had died, and he had not been in touch. The guilt was unbearable, but worse was the knowledge that perhaps Philip had been right, that news of her offstage behavior had reached the ears of artistic directors and general managers, and that they had collectively decided that she was more trouble than she was worth. Was her mother right too? Living in an immoral way had caught up with her, and the vengeful God who made marks in his book had added so many to her column that she could no longer be redeemed. She'd had the odd oratorio performance in Regina or Calgary, but no major roles since. She was stuck in Winnipeg, with a mother who didn't know her, and 2 daughters who looked at her with hungry eyes, longing for what she didn't know how to give. Felicity had hoped and imagined and sent out visions of herself singing at the Met, but all that came back was a noon-hour recital for a Winnipeg Chamber Music Society and a creation in Saskatoon. Singing is singing, said Jack, but this was something else he didn't understand. Opera was different from other singing. Not only did it have the most glorious music, undergirded by the sweep and breath of orchestra and chorus, but the characters embodied the purest forms of love and loss, jealousy and reconciliation. She had come to this conclusion when she sang Fledermaus in Calgary. She had begun rehearsals, sure that this ridiculous, meaningless show was not worth separation from Claude, that it had nothing to say about the serious struggle in which he was involved, fighting for the right to nationhood and self-determination. Then, at the sing-through, she heard the soprano, Alicia Kravchenko, sing Rosalinda's big aria, Klänge der Heimat, Sounds of My Homeland. There was something so wistful and yet so powerful in the way Alicia sang the aria that Felicity hauled her German dictionary from her suitcase and went to work translating that evening in her hotel room. Sounds of my homeland, you fill me with longing, bring tears to my eyes when I hear your native songs, Felicity translated. O homeland, so wonderful. The sun shines so brightly. How green your forests, how laughing your fields. O land, where I was so happy. The aria was about Hungary, but it could be describing Grenada. Yes, your beloved image so completely fills my soul. And though I am far from you, so far, I am with you for eternity, my soul, ever there, consecrated to you alone. Felicity wasn't sure if she had the right to call Grenada her homeland, as one who had been raised entirely outside of it. But Alicia described herself as a proud Ukrainian, and no doubt the depth of emotion with which she had sung the aria came from her feelings for Ukraine, oppressed under Soviet rule. She wasn't born in Ukraine, nor were her parents or grandparents, from what Felicity knew. If Alicia called herself Ukrainian, Felicity could be Grenadian. And Fledermaus could speak to Grenada's aspirations the same as Ukraine's or Hungary's.